How far would you go to keep custody of your kids? 6 months of brutal custody hearings had led me to this moment, watching Judge Sterling dismiss everything I said while hanging on every word from my lying ex-wife. Your Honor, he left our son alone for 3 hours while he went to some bar, Rachel said, her voice dripping with fake concern. I have witnesses! I shot up from my chair. That's a complete lie. I was at a work meeting and my neighbor Mrs. Foster was, Mr. Brooks, please sit down. Judge Sterling cut me off without even looking my way. His eyes stayed glued to Rachel like she was some kind of saint. This was the 4th hearing, and it was happening again. Every lie out of her mouth somehow became gospel truth in his courtroom. I've documented every incident, Rachel continued, sliding a thick folder across the table. Late pickups, missed school events, inappropriate language around our son. What inappropriate language? I demanded. I've never, Mr. Brooks. The judge's voice had that familiar edge. You'll have your opportunity to respond, but I wouldn't. Not really. In 3 previous hearings, my opportunity had lasted 10 minutes while Rachel got hours for her one-woman show. She pulled out photo after photo, all carefully staged to make me look like the world's worst father. This is from last month when he picked up Jeremy with a stained shirt, she said, holding up a blurry picture of me at my car. And here's Jeremy after spending the weekend with his father. Notice how exhausted he looks. My kid looked tired because we'd stayed up finishing his science project, the same one Rachel forgot to mention when she dropped him off. I'm genuinely worried about Jeremy's safety, Rachel dabbed her eyes with a tissue. His father doesn't seem capable of stable care. Judge Sterling leaned forward, studying her photos like they were evidence in a crime scene. These are very troubling, Miss Sullivan. Thank you for understanding, Your Honor, she said with that perfectly practiced, sad smile. My lawyer nudged me to stay calm, but I was gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles had turned white. This woman had cheated on me with her trainer, maxed out 3 credit cards, and left Jeremy with a babysitter for an entire weekend while she went to Atlantic City. But somehow I was the dangerous parent. Your Honor, I tried again. If I could just show you my documentation, we'll review your materials after Ms. Sullivan completes her testimony. Rachel's smile widened just a fraction. She knew she owned this courtroom. I hate to say this, she added, but I'm starting to think unsupervised visits might not be safe. Maybe we should consider supervised visitation only. Absolutely not, the words exploded out of me. You are not taking my son away from me based on lies. Judge Sterling's gavel slammed down. Mr. Brooks, control yourself or I'll hold you in contempt of court. Rachel's eyes sparkled. Every outburst, every flash of anger proved her narrative that I was unstable and unfit. I forced myself back into my seat, but inside I was screaming. This wasn't about justice or Jeremy's best interests. This was theater, and Rachel had written herself the starring role. The hearing dragged on for another 90 minutes. Rachel presented her case like she was auditioning for an Oscar. Every pause calculated, every tear perfectly timed. When Judge Sterling finally called on me, he was already shuffling papers and glancing at his watch. I believe we have sufficient information to proceed, he announced before I'd even finished half of my statement. We'll reconvene next Friday for final arguments and my ruling. As we filed out, Rachel brushed past me, glowing with confidence. See you Friday, Danny, she whispered. Hope you've got your weekend plans figured out, because they're about to change permanently. I stood in that courthouse hallway watching her strut away with her lawyer, both of them radiating the smug certainty of a sure victory. My own attorney was already packing his briefcase, muttering about preparing for limited visitation rights. That's when it clicked. This had nothing to do with evidence, testimony, or Jeremy's best interests. Judge Sterling had decided my fate before I'd ever stepped foot in his courtroom. The only question was why he seemed so determined to destroy me. I had 1 week to figure it out. Full story on my channel below.